Hello, welcome to this video tutorial. My name is Johan van Pijnbroek and I'm working for the company iCare. In this video tutorial I will show you how to collect data for ODS or model purposes. But before doing that, let's first cover a little bit theory. Very often an ODS or a model job contains a very complicated structure with a couple of hundred measurement point locations, but to simplify a lot of things, let's explain the principle based on a easy to understand cube. So here is a cube, and maybe that can be a representation of the support plate of your installation. That is part of your ODS job. So normally on several locations later on you will collect data. If you select more physical points, you will have a better looking animation in the ODS software later on, but of course it will require more effort to collect the data everywhere. Now the first thing to do normally with an ODS job is to assign the directions on your structure. So I will call this direction always X, this direction always Y, and this direction always Z. On the data collector in the configuration we have specified that we will install the reference sensor on position 1 in the X direction positive polarity. So the reference sensor will be installed here in this direction. Then I will take the triax and install the triax on all the different points where I want to collect data, and I simply number the points. So first of all I will also collect data in the reference point, so I will install the triax as close as possible to the reference sensor in this direction, and the triax sensor will collect the X component, the Y component and the Z component. Then you move over to position 2, so you install the triax here. Then you move over to position 3 and you install the triax here. Now as soon as you go to, for example, position 4, it becomes a little bit more complicated. If you go to position 4, you install the triax sensor in this direction, and that means that you install it in the minus X polarity. So on the data collector, prior on taking data, you have to change the polarity of the X and you have to change it to minus X. It becomes a little bit more complicated if we install the sensor in position 5, because as soon as we change the position 5, we also change the orientation of the sensor. So now the sensor is not anymore mounting in this direction but in the other direction. In fact, he's now installed in the minus Y direction, but the Y is now your first channel, where here your X was your first channel. So you also have to change the order of the sensors. How it works exactly you will see in a moment on the data collector. So let's move on to the data collector. So here you see the ODS model home screen where the 20 points are pre-configured, as you can see in the other video tutorial about ODS. So first I install the sensor close to 1 and I make sure that my triax is mounted and installed in the correct direction for XYZ. So the machine is running and I can take data collection by pushing start F1. And the first point is measured. You see here 1 versus 1. When you go to next response, you see 1, Y and Z. You have the 3 directions. When I go to point 2, I move the triax to location 2 and I collect data. I accept the data, I move over to point 3, I move the sensor and I collect data by pushing F1. Now as soon as I go to direct point number 4, I have to change the X component, and how to change the X component, the polarity, go to change sign, and you see now the X is negative. If you want to double check that Y and Z are still correct, go to F2, and you see the Y is positive, the Z is positive, so this point is now correct and I can collect data here. Enter. Now when I go to point 5 it becomes more complicated because the inputs are now mounted in a different direction. So I go to F4, change measurement input, and here my set measurement input, my X is now input C, my Y is input B. But on top of that my Y was negative, so I have to change F2 Y and I have to make it negative, and now I can collect data here. And this is a basic concept to collect ODS data on a structure.
We are now at the end of this video tutorial. Thank you for watching this tutorial. For more information about iCare and our products, please visit our website or drop an email to one of the following emails. Thank you, have a nice day.